If you've been on social media lately, you have definitely seen it. Rosemary oil is everywhere, and it's being called the next big thing for hair growth, like a miracle in a bottle. But is it really the hero we've been waiting for? Or is it just another bit of internet hype? Let's get into it.
With all this buzz, you have to wonder, right? Is there any actual science to back this up? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out. We're going to dig into the research and separate the social media story from the scientific reality. So, why now? Why is everyone suddenly obsessed with this stuff? A big part of it is that people are really looking for natural solutions to hair loss, especially after things like post-COVID shedding became more common. It's driving this huge search for alternatives to drugs like Minoxidil, and somehow, rosemary oil has jumped to the front of the line.
Almost all of the scientific buzz around rosemary oil can be traced back to one single study from 2015. This was a pretty big deal, a clinical trial that put this ancient herb head-to-head with Minoxidil, which is, the main FDA-approved treatment out there.
And honestly, the results were pretty shocking. After a full 6 months, both groups, the one using rosemary oil and the one using Minoxidil, saw a significant jump in hair count. But the real headline is that bottom line. There was no statistical difference between the two. That means this simple, natural oil performed just as well as a proven pharmaceutical treatment.
Let's put a number on it. The people using rosemary oil saw their hair count go up by an average of 5.5% over those 6 months. Now, on its own, that sounds pretty good, right? It's a real measurable increase. But, and this is a really important but, we need some context. Your hair count isn't some fixed number. It actually fluctuates naturally, sometimes by as much as 10%, just because of the seasons in your body's own cycles. So while that 5.5% growth is definitely there, it's also a pretty modest number that could technically fall inside that range of natural change.
Okay, so what's the takeaway here? It means rosemary oil absolutely shows real promise, but it is not a miracle cure. The results are slow, they're gradual, and you have to be patient. Oh, and here's a fantastic little bonus from the study. The rosemary oil group reported way less scalp itching than the Minoxidil group. That's a huge win if you've got sensitive skin.
So, the science looks good and you're thinking you want to try it. Awesome. But before you do anything, we have to talk about some crucial safety rules. Because with essential oils, how you use them isn't just a suggestion, it's absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay, rule number 1, the big one, the one you cannot forget. Never, ever put undiluted rosemary oil right on your scalp. This stuff is powerful, it's concentrated, and it can cause some really nasty irritation or even allergic reactions if you're not careful.
The trick is you have to dilute it in what's called a carrier oil. Think things like jojoba or coconut oil. A really safe bet is to aim for a 2 to 3% concentration. And to make it super simple for you, that breaks down to about 6 drops of rosemary oil for every 1 tablespoon of your carrier oil.
Now, this next part is the most critical safety warning of all, and we have to be very clear. Multiple health sources state that rosemary oil is a uterine stimulant. Because of this, it is considered unsafe and must be completely avoided if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. Even just using it on your skin could pose a risk.
And before you go putting this all over your head, you have to do a patch test. It's super simple. Just put a tiny bit of your diluted mixture on the inside of your elbow and wait a day. If you see any redness or feel any itching, your skin is telling you something. Listen to it and do not put it on your scalp.
All right, you've done your patch test, you're ready to get started. So what should you really expect? Look, this is not an overnight fix. You have to think of this as a long-term commitment. It's all about patience and consistency.
So here's how to do it. After you've mixed your oils, you want to apply it section by section, directly onto your scalp. And this next part is key. Massage it in for a good 5 or 10 minutes. You really want to stimulate that blood flow. Let it sit for at least half an hour. You can even leave it in overnight and then wash it out really well. You should aim to do this routine 2 or 3 times a week.
And here's what that patience looks like on a timeline. For the first 2 months, don't expect to see new hair. You might notice your scalp feels healthier. Maybe your hair feels a bit stronger. Then, around months 3 and 4, you might start to see some early changes. Less hair in your brush, maybe some tiny new baby hairs. But the real, visible results that the study found, those typically show up around the 5 to 6 month mark.
Oh, and a quick word about something else you've probably seen online, DIY rosemary water. While it sounds easy, you have to be so careful here. This stuff has an incredibly short shelf life, even in the fridge, and it can become a breeding ground for nasty bacteria that you do not want on your scalp.
If you're going to do this, you have to make a fresh, tiny batch every single week. Okay, so we've looked at the science, the safety rules, the timeline. What is the final verdict? Should you be adding rosemary oil to your routine?
Well, based on everything we know, rosemary oil looks like a fantastic choice for a few kinds of people. It's great if you have mild or moderate thinning, if you're looking for a natural option, or if your scalp is just too sensitive for minoxidil. And most importantly, it's for people who are truly willing to be patient and stick with it for 6 months or more. On the flip side, this probably isn't the solution for you if you're dealing with very severe hair loss. It's also not going to help if your hair loss is coming from an underlying medical problem that needs a doctor's attention. And, of course, it's not for anyone who wants results tomorrow. And as we've said, it is a definite no if you are pregnant or breastfeeding.
So if you're ready to try it, here's your final checklist. First, talk to a doctor if you think there might be something else going on. Then, do your patch test, always dilute it properly, use it consistently, and give it at least 6 months. And here's a pro tip. Take pictures once a month. It's the best way to actually see if it's working. And that brings us to one last thing to think about. A topical treatment like rosemary oil can be a great tool for sure, but it's worth asking, is the journey to healthy hair just about what you put on your head, or is it maybe a chance to look inward too, at your diet, your stress, your overall health? It's all connected.